My mother-in-law tried to kick me out of my own house. See how I turned the tables? I'm Emily Carter, 30 years old, and a high school teacher in Denver, Colorado. I've been married for 4 years to Michael Carter, a civil engineer. He's a kind, patient man with a clear boundary. My name is Emily, and I need to tell you about the day my mother-in-law tried to kick me out of my own house. You know that feeling when you finally manage to buy your dream home? When you take the keys, walk in for the first time and think, wow, I did it. That's exactly how I felt 6 months ago, when Michael and I bought our first house together in Denver. A beautiful house, 3 bedrooms, backyard with a garden. It was perfect, just the two of us, our life, our privacy. But I had no idea. I had no clue about the hell that was coming. Because when you get married, you don't just marry the person, you marry the whole family. And in my case, you marry Margaret. Margaret Carter. My mother-in-law. And that woman. That woman was determined to get me out of my own house. But I swear to you, in that moment, when she crossed the final line, I knew I had to turn the tables. And I did it in a way she will never, never forget. Welcome to Revenge Cat. We reveal gripping stories of broken trust, family secrets, and shocking twists. If you crave powerful narratives, intense emotions, and the sweet taste of justice, this is your place. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. Let me explain the situation better. Michael and I have been married for 4 years. He's a civil engineer, works at a big company here in Denver. I'm a high school teacher. I love my students, but you know how it is. The salary isn't the best. The house. We bought it together, 50% each. My name is on the deed as much as his. This is important for you to understand what comes next. Michael always had a complicated relationship with his mother. Margaret is a widow for 8 years now, lives alone in a huge house on the other side of town. She's one of those women who, how can I put this politely? She needs to control everything and everyone around her. Since we met, Margaret never completely accepted me. At our wedding, she wore a black dress. Black who wears black to their own son's wedding. But I tried to be understanding, you know? I thought, she lost her husband, Michael is her only son. She must be afraid of losing him too. So I swallowed the comments, the criticisms disguised as suggestions, the disapproving looks. Mistake number 1. The problem started as soon as we moved in. In the first week, Margaret showed up at our door. Just came to take a little look at the new house. She said, with that fake smile I already knew well. But a little look turned into 3 hours. 3 hours of Margaret walking around the house, touching our things, making comments about everything. These curtains are too dark, Emily. A house needs light. Why did you put the TV on that wall? It's too far from the sofa. This kitchen wall color, it's too strong. Michael always liked neutral tones. Michael tried to change the subject, but I could see he didn't want to confront his mother. And well, I stayed quiet, because I'm polite, because I thought if I was patient enough, she would eventually accept me. Mistake number 2. The situation kept escalating. Margaret started showing up without warning. Once a week became twice, then 3 times. Always with some excuse. I was passing by and brought you some sweets. Michael forgot his phone charger at my house. I need to talk to Michael about his father's insurance documents. But what bothered me most wasn't the frequency. It was the attitude. She entered my house like it was hers. Went straight to the kitchen, opened the fridge without asking. Changed the air conditioning temperature. Once, I found her reorganizing the spices in my cabinet. It was a mess, she said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. You know that feeling of being invaded in your own home? Of no longer having privacy or peace? That's exactly what I felt. but the worst was yet to come. One day, I came home from work and Margaret was in my living room. Alone. Michael hadn't arrived yet. She was sitting on my couch, watching TV, with a cup of coffee in her hand. "How did you get in?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "Michael gave me a spare key," she replied, without even looking at me. "For emergencies." Emergency. Watching TV was an emergency. But what really made me furious was when she said, "Oh, and I moved that ugly painting you had on the wall." It was crooked. It was a painting I had received from my grandmother. My grandmother. And she just took it down and put it somewhere else. That night, I talked to Michael. "Honey, your mother can't have free access to our house like this. This isn't normal." And you know what he said? "Emily, she's my mother, and it was just once. You don't need to be dramatic." Dramatic. He called the violation of my privacy dramatic. In that moment, I realized I was fighting a battle on two fronts, Margaret on one side, and the lack of support from my own husband on the other. But I still hadn't seen anything yet. The unannounced visits became routine. Margaret would arrive, do whatever she wanted, criticize everything I did. My food was bland. My way of folding towels was wrong. Even the way I organized dishes in the dishwasher was inadequate. One day, I came home and found Margaret in my kitchen. Cooking. She had thrown away the food I had prepared the night before and was making dinner. "That lasagna you made seemed to be spoiled," she said, without any remorse. "So I decided to make something decent for my son." Guys, that lasagna was perfect. I had made it the day before. It was Michael's favorite recipe, but you know what broke my heart? When Michael arrived, tasted his mother's food and said, "Wow, Mom, I missed your cooking." Right in front of me, like I didn't exist. That night, I cried in the bathroom. Alone, because I felt like a stranger in my own house. Margaret was no longer just visiting. She was taking over. And Michael not only allowed it, but seemed to like it. But what happened the following week was the limit. The absolute limit. It was a Saturday morning. Michael had gone out to play basketball with his friends. I was in the backyard, taking care of the garden. Something I love to do. It relaxes me completely. Suddenly, I hear voices in my living room. Voices I didn't recognize. I go in through the back door, and Margaret was there. With 3 of her friends. All sitting in my living room, drinking coffee, eating cake, talking loudly. One of the women looks at me, dirty with soil, wearing an apron, and asks Margaret, "Is this the maid?" The maid, in my own house. Margaret didn't even correct her, just gave a little laugh, and said, "No, that's Emily, the Michael's wife." The way she said wife. With contempt, like it was something temporary, something unimportant. But you know what was worse? One of her friends, a gray-haired lady, looked around and said, "What a beautiful house, Margaret. Did you decorate it?" And Margaret, Margaret replied, "Thank you. I'm still making some adjustments. Some tastes are questionable." Looking directly at me, in that moment, something broke inside me. It wasn't about the visits anymore. It wasn't about the lack of respect anymore. It was about her pretending that house was hers. In front of strangers. In front of me. But I took a deep breath, smiled, and said, "Excuse me, ladies, I'm going to take a shower." Because I had made a decision. Finally, it was time for Margaret to learn who really ran that house. That same day, after Margaret and her friends left, I called my best friend, Sarah. Sarah is a lawyer, specialized in real estate law. "Sarah," I said, "I need your help. And I need it to be discreet." I told her everything. Everything. The invasions, the lack of respect, Margaret's attitude, Michael's omission. Sarah was furious. "Emily, this is trespassing." She can't enter your house without permission just because she has a key. Then she explained my rights to me and gave me an idea. A brilliant idea. Let's document everything, she said. And let's prepare a surprise for Margaret that she never forget. For 2 weeks, I documented every unauthorized visit from Margaret. I installed a discreet camera at the house entrance. Completely legal, since it was my property. I photographed the changes she made without permission. I kept the notes she left suggesting improvements. Sarah prepared all the necessary documents. A cease and desist letter. A temporary restraining order. And the cherry on top, ... a certified copy of the house deed, highlighting that my name was there, with the same rights as Michael's. The plan was simple. Margaret always said she would love to organize a family dinner at our house. Well, I was going to give her that opportunity. A dinner she would never forget. I invited the entire Carter family to dinner. Michael's parents, just Margaret, of course, his 2 brothers with their wives, and even Margaret's in-laws who were still alive and were lovely people. Margaret was euphoric. Finally she could show off the house to the whole family, be the hostess she always wanted to be. But I had other intentions. On the day of the dinner, Margaret arrived 2 hours before the other guests. To help with the preparations, she said. But I knew it was to take control. And that's exactly what she did. Changed the table arrangement. Switched the dishes I had chosen. Even put different flowers, which she had brought in the center of the table. Your flowers were wilted, she said, throwing my flowers in the trash. A hostess needs good taste. Hostess, she called herself the hostess. In my house. When everyone arrived, Margaret made sure to receive them at the door. My door. Like she was the owner of the house. Welcome to my ... I mean, our house, she said, correcting herself quickly, but everyone understood what she really meant. During dinner, she commanded everything. Served the food, led the conversations, told stories about how she was helping Emily organize the house better. But the moment I was waiting for came during dessert. Margaret stood up, tapped her glass with a spoon, and said, I'd like to make a toast. Everyone stopped to listen. I'm very happy to see the whole family gathered here, in this house where Michael grew up, ... I mean, where Michael now lives. She laughed nervously. You know, sometimes it's hard to accept changes. Especially when certain people try to change family traditions that took years to establish. She was looking directly at me. But I learned that sometimes we have to be patient with those who don't understand how things work in a real family. The silence at the table was deafening. Everyone looking uncomfortably at their plates. Then Margaret continued, and this was the phrase that sealed her fate. Because in the end, blood is blood. And this house will always belong to the Carter family blood. That's when I stood up. Margaret, I said, with the calmest voice I could manage. How interesting that you talk about who belongs in this house. Everyone looked at me. Michael was pale. He knew something was happening, but didn't know what. Because, I continued, walking to the sideboard where I had left a folder. I have some documents here that I'd like to share with the family. Margaret frowned. Emily, this isn't the time for ... Oh, but I think it's exactly the time, I interrupted, opening the folder. I took out the first document. This is a certified copy of the deed to this house. As you can see, I passed the paper around the table. This house belongs 50% to Michael Carter, and 50% to Emily Carter. Margaret turned red. Well, obviously, but, and this, I took out the second document, is a record of all the times you entered this house without permission in the last 2 months. 17 times, to be exact. 17 violations of domicile. The silence was absolute now. And this, I took out the third document, is a cease and desist order, prepared by my lawyer. demanding that you immediately stop entering this property without explicit invitation. Margaret tried to speak, but I wasn't finished. And lastly, I took out the final document. This is a temporary restraining order. Because of your constant invasions, your attempts to take control of my house, and the continuous psychological harassment. So, Margaret, about your speech about blood and who belongs in this house, ... I looked directly into her eyes. The only person at this table who doesn't belong here is you. And if you don't respect these legal documents, if you continue invading my house, changing my things, disrespecting my privacy, I will sue you for harassment, property invasion, and disturbing the peace. Margaret was white as paper. The whole family looked shocked. How dare you? She started screaming. How dare I? I raised my voice for the first time. Margaret, you spent 6 months disrespecting me in my own house. 6 months entering here like you owned it, criticizing everything I do, treating me like I was an invader. You threw away my food, changed my decoration, organized my cabinets, called me an invader in front of your friends. And today, in front of the whole family, you said I don't belong to Carter blood. Well, I have news for you. I don't want to belong to your blood. I belong in this house because I paid for it. I belong in this family because I married Michael. And if you can't accept that, ... the problem is yours. Margaret left the table and went away, without saying goodbye, without looking back. The other family members were embarrassed, but also impressed, I think. Margaret's father, an 85-year-old gentleman, came to me before leaving and said, "Emily, dear, it was about time someone put Margaret in her place. She's always been like this, since childhood. I'm sorry for what you went through." And Michael stayed quiet during the whole discussion, but after everyone left, he came to me and said, "Emily, ... I'm sorry. I didn't realize it had gotten to this point." "You did realize, Michael," I replied. "You just chose not to do anything about it. And you know what? That was the most honest conversation we'd had in months." Michael admitted he was afraid of confronting his mother, that it was always easier to let her do what she wanted than deal with the drama. But that night, he understood. He understood that by not defending me, he was losing me. Margaret tried to call several times in the following days. Michael didn't answer. She sent dramatic messages talking about ungrateful children and manipulative Wirtschaftslau, but the legal documents spoke louder. It's been 3 months since that happened. Margaret hasn't stepped foot in our house again. She doesn't make surprise visits anymore. And when she wants to talk to Michael, she makes an appointment. Like a civilized person. You know what I learned from all this? I learned that respect isn't something you earn by being quiet. Respect isn't something you gain by accepting abuse. For a long time, I thought that if I was patient enough, polite enough, understanding enough, ... Margaret would eventually accept me. But the truth is that some people will disrespect you as long as you allow it, and the most powerful revenge wasn't humiliating Margaret in front of the family. It wasn't showing the documents, or the restraining order. The most powerful revenge was me regaining control of my own life. It was me saying no to something that was hurting me. It was me discovering that I had more strength than I imagined. Today, Michael and I are more united than ever. He learned the importance of supporting me, of being on my side when things get tough. And I learned that sometimes you need to fight for your own happiness. Our house is ours again. Our home is ours again. And Margaret. Well, ... Margaret learned that I'm no longer the quiet daughter-in-law who swallows disrespect. If you're going through something similar, if someone is invading your life, disrespecting your boundaries, making you feel like a stranger in your own house, don't wait. Don't stay quiet. Document everything. Seek legal help if necessary. But mainly, value yourself. because you deserve respect. You deserve peace in your own home. And you deserve a partner who stands by your side. And Margaret, if you're watching this, that spare key you had, Michael changed all the locks. Welcome to my house. My house. For more exciting videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share. If you want powerful narratives, strong emotions, and the sweet taste of justice, this is your place.